Hello everybody and welcome back. And the party are in trouble, as am I. Why did I do this? What happened last time was the party were ambushed by 36 of these skanks and they did the sensible thing and they surrendered. Well, 36 would have killed them. They found 4 quite difficult. So where are the party? Well, they're all over the place. Big Tybor was put here in a slag heap, crushing all the rock that has come up from the mines into gravel so it can be smelted and the iron ore extracted. Malin, who has not much strength, was put to work in the kitchens here. Maridin, Sylvia and Donard were put to work in the mines. Carrick was sent to work in the smithy because there are a couple of other dwarves and it became quite apparent they are the best smiths. And sure enough, there's a massive operation here making weapons and armour. And there seems to be over 100 skanks, maybe even more, that mill about the place, some with whips using them liberally. This seems to be a training area. This is the slave compound, and each of these 5 rooms has about 20 bunk beds in it, so there's about 100 slaves. This seems to be the sort of quarters that the skanks live in, though nobody has been allowed inside. This seems to be the armory. Party have to sort of talk to everybody, find out what's going on, speak to those people who have been here for some time. There is another place up here where we're told that the other party of adventurers, evil ones who have been wreaking havoc, that's where they're headquartered. Even though at some point they may make their way further up the stairs to meet the Kopru. Of all the things which has happened immediately, the most interesting was when Carrick was taken into one of these forges to meet the other dwarves. They're all chained up, and lo and behold, as he walks in, all heads turn towards him, and he hears a voice on, "Oh, I don't believe it!" And Carrick looks up, and sure enough, the other dwarf who said this was Gareth Ironhand, if you remember the bard from the monastery in Horror on the Hill. And yep, he's been captured again, and he's been put to work again. I'll have to remind myself of what his stats are. Of course, he's overjoyed to see Carrick, though he's not happy to see him in chains, though it's a sign of hope that maybe rescue from this area is imminent. This area is underground, it's extremely dark, it's lit mostly by the red glow of the lava, which gives it an eerie feeling. There are torches around the place to help illuminate some of the more darker areas, but overall, apart from the noise of the hammering and the mining and the sound of the whips, this is a rather eerie, echoey, quiet place. Oh yeah, where is their equipment? And it will probably be here in the main barracks. This is where the chief skank lives, and we'll find out more about what's going on when we break in the evening for food in the mess hall here. And well, as new arrivals, people will have a lot to tell the party, and also because the party do look a bit more than ordinary civilians, maybe there will be a sign of hope that maybe the party can do something despite the fact they're in manacles. One of the things Donard can do is he can start to heal some of the slaves which have been badly wounded. He has, even though he lost his holy symbol, that's only used for turn undead. He still has the ability to memorize spells every day. Malin and Sylvia rested up. They didn't use any spells before they were caught, and according to the rulebook, spells will stay in your memory until needed. So just a quick reminder, Malin has a magic missile, a shield, mirror image, invisibility 10 feet radius, probably very handy, and a fireball. Sylvia has a magic missile, a sleep, and another invisibility, a phantasmal force, and a haste. We can do a lot with that. And in fact, we might actually get our equipment back, but everybody has their hands and feet manacled when they're asleep and when they're eating, and when they're marched to and from the mines, they are actually chained together via their necks with another iron collar, so there's a lot to unpick here. I really don't know what I've got myself into. I honestly thought this would be an interesting scenario, especially since we have 3 other crew members coming up the rear who might help. But one thing we have to do is we have to release all the slaves. It isn't just enough for us to get our equipment and run. We will have 100 skanks chase us, either up the stair or down the stair, maybe 200. It's difficult to tell what number there are. So we're going to have to try and make the best use of what we have. The party have to remember, once they use up their magic spells, until Malin and Sylvia get their spell books back, and until they rest, this is what they have to use. Okay, well, let's see how all of this will turn out. There is a set meal time at the end of the day. It is the only set meal time. They don't get breakfast. And Malin and Liz work the kitchens. That's when they do most of their work. And this is a chance for everybody to get together, talk, and tell their own stories. There are a lot of civilians here, but there are some people of note who the party get to know eating their extremely thin meals. And I made a small list of them. And this list was inspired by page 28 of the manual, where there are different scenarios that a DM can give a party as to motivate them to explore the Isle of Dread. So there's a character called Roan, and he is a mage, level 5, and his buddy is called Ferdy, and he is a level 5 fighter, and they came here with a larger team to map the island, and there's only the two of them left. And of course, right, I can't believe this is session 168 and I'm still referring to the rules book for minor details. Of course, he does not introduce himself as a level 5 mage. He calls himself an enchanter. So Roan is an enchanter and Ferdy is a swashbuckler. There are two people here, a brother and sister, who were here for a dinosaur hunt. And she's called Katrina, and she is a Myrmidon level 6 fighter, and her brother Jalen is a level 4 thief, and that makes him a burglar. There are two here who came to exterminate pirates, and that's a fighter called Raleigh. He's another Myrmidon. He's with a cleric called Ava, and she is level 3, and that makes her a priest. And then we have a level 2 thief who owned a treasure map where there was some sunken treasure, and she's all that's left of her party, and she's just a footpad, and her name is Frida. So that's how they introduce themselves in the language of this world, and it takes several days to get to know who is who. A lot of people don't want to talk, there are people who don't have much to say, there are people who just miss their family. So when it comes to getting the news, these are some of the talking points the party have discovered. The evil party, who they know exists because they saw the ship and they have been following a trail of destruction, that party seems to have taken up residence here. Secondly, things unintuitively seem to have gotten better since they have arrived, and they have been here a week. They arrived about 5 to 7 days before our party arrived, and since that time there has been more food and there has been an ordered, structured bedtime, so everybody goes to bed at the same time. Productivity has gone up, but then people have to be reminded ruefully that means they're doing more work. Most, in fact all of the people here have never experienced the Copru's voices in their heads. And this is interesting because, for a start, in our group, the only people who have are Tybor and Maridin. They are the only ones who can discuss what the effect is. But no, none of the captured prisoners have ever been made to touch an effigy, and they haven't even seen an effigy. Some of them have seen a tattoo on the wrists of that evil party when they were close enough to see it, but this is the only sign that anybody has ever seen of a tentacled creature. As they talk about this, because there's nothing else to talk about, some of the prisoners just come to the conclusion that, well, why would they want to control our minds? What do we have to offer these people? We're in chains. And that in a kind of way makes sense, since the Copru have always taken over people they can make use of. There is a chief to the Skanks. Of course, that was a term that Liz invented. The prisoners here just call them bat-faced people, but they think Skanks is better, so Liz wins a few social credit points for that one. And we don't understand why there could be a chief, since they are meant to be a collective, but they will discuss that over the next few days. There are organised training routines for the Skanks, as this is a military operation. Half the Skanks do the training, and this is the training yard here, and the other half watch over the prisoners. There is a weapons and armour inspection during this, and once there was a parade day, and the prisoners got a day off, and they got to spend that day in chains, tied to each other and their bunk beds, while the Skanks lined up here in the parade ground as a show of force. And in fact, it was one of the first things that was organised when this other party arrived. So this is the only time that all the Skanks are together, is during this military parade. Maridin and Tybor, but Maridin is the only one with any intelligence who has been taken over by the Kopru, has been discussing why a leader of the Skanks might have arisen, and either the Kopru appointed him, which seems unlikely, or else Maridin thinks that maybe he has broken free of the mind control and he is clever enough not to mention it. And again, that's part of the rules of the manual. Every so often, if a character becomes under control, they can roll for a save versus spells to break from it each game month. And so it appears possibly this is what the chief has done. He's naturally just broken free, and maybe due to some freak breeding, he has enough intelligence to play up on that and to keep it to himself. So there's a good chance that he will have taken all the party's treasure for himself, and he might be plotting a coup, or at least maybe breaking away. So that's another weakness. With a level 5 mage and a level 3 cleric, there are a few more spells to be had. Ava the cleric has really given herself over to healing spells, and Donard realises that's what he should do as well, as this is what's keeping a lot of the prisoners alive should they face one of the many mining accidents. Roan, the level 5 mage, will have a couple of spells left. He has lost his spell book, so I'll maybe roll for them randomly to see what they are, and maybe we can make use of those. Carrick normally sits with the two other dwarves, one of which is Gareth Ironhand, who we've met before. They talk about the elaborate setup here and the weaknesses, if any, they can see. And yes, there is a weakness that can be seen. And of course, they think this setup is far too elaborate for its purpose, and therefore it must be some sort of way of showing off. But it does in some way make sense, because if they want to forge metal, they need fire. As Gareth points out when he waves his hand around, what is there here to burn? All of this is rock. So in some ways, this setup where they've utilised the lava actually does make sense. I forgot to mention there is a little footbridge here that is the only way across from the prisoner side to the Skank side. So that is the life described so far. How the party are going to make use of all of this? Well, I'm going to have to think that one through. Let's leave the party where they are, lying up in bunk beds in their cells and spending their evenings in the mess hall, talking quietly to all and anybody who can help them. And let's follow Archie, Barton and Kane as they are making their way northward. They passed by the Phaneton camp and didn't look up, and the Phanetons didn't interfere, and they're just making their way without any more direction other than northward towards the plateau. I will roll for a wandering monster. I have pre-rolled 6 different encounters. And they don't get one during the day. Do they get one during the evening? And they're about here. They don't. That needs a roll of 6. So there is a footbridge here. I suspect it's a bit of a rope bridge that goes over a ravine. And again, Indiana Jones in the Temple of Doom rears its head, not for the first time. On the other side, do they come across anything? And they don't. Okay. But they do come across the band of rescued prisoners, including the 3 rakasta who had just been captured, and they are coming the other way. Now they dive into the bushes to not be seen, but they're not that good at it. These are just ordinary people who have, well, been chained up for a long time. So inevitably a meeting arises and one of the prisoners, who is human, is able to do most of the talking, and he asks the party to show them their wrists, again looking for this telltale tattoo. Of course, these three don't have the tattoo, so that is some relief, and they exchange their story, and the crew say they're part of the adventuring party that went northward. They describe them. This lot recognises the description instantly, and of course, since the main party are their saviours, this immediately uplifts them to find out there are 3 more crewmates and a ship that might help take them away from this island. Of course, the Rakasta and the Thanaton want to get back to their own people and not leave the island. So a good time is had by all. This is a good productive meeting, and it's up to Archie with his intelligence of 10 to try and remember all the details. Barton has an intelligence of 6, Kane has an intelligence of 5. They're given the way into the main cave system, and let's just pick up from there. And here we are with the crew making their way through here. And let's see if they encounter anything. They've been given pretty clear directions. They don't need to bother with this area. And they don't. So let's move on another 2 turns. They don't meet anything again. And then they make it to the bottom of these stairs. Are there any skanks? There aren't. So they have a much easier time of it than the main party. And that brings them to here. They're going to go up here. I shall roll twice. If either of these are a 1, then they come across a party of skanks who have been sent to chase the prisoners. Alright, okay, they do. They come across some, so I will set this up. There are 3 skanks coming southward. Again, these skanks don't have infravision, so they will have a torch that illuminates them and makes them visible to the party. Likewise, Archie is the one at the back holding the lantern, so the crew can be seen as well. I'm going to call this lot the crew as opposed to the party, so we can get a difference. Kane goes, "Haha, our first catch of the day." Barton thinks, by the gods, these creatures are ugly. They aren't in combat yet, so there is a chance for Barton to cast Bless. So I will mark that off his spell list, though maybe he should have got striking. Right. Archie has a bow and arrow, but he will have to put his lantern down on this turn so he doesn't get to move. And Kane whips out his 2-handed sword, and just like Tybor, he gets 2d6 plus 4 damage. He has weapons skill in it. Normally a 2-handed sword is 1d10, that goes up to 2d6 plus 1 for skill, and he has 18 strength, so he gets plus 3 onto that. His armor class is only 3, by the way. He's got plate mail plus 1, he doesn't have any magic rings, he doesn't have a shield. And these skanks have a THAC0 of 16, so they can hit him rather easily. They just need a 13 to hit. It's clear there is no surprise. We're going to have to close up. There will be 3 on Kane to begin with. So let's work out our intentions. Archie is going to shoot. He's got a THAC0 of 14 and just does d6 damage. He has no weapons training skills. And neither has Barton. Barton's intention is to cast Striking on Kane, and Kane's intentions is to move. Right, so let's do initiative. We get initiative, so we can do the missiles. I shall do Archie on the leftmost one. And he misses armor class 2, even with the Bless spell. I shall do the spells round. Barton casts Striking on Kane. And then I will do the 3 skanks on Kane. And that's 1 hit for 2 points. He's down to 43. Kane is a beast. Both of those miss. and both of those miss, so a very easy round for him. And he gets 2d6 plus 4 plus d6 for striking, and he will just choose the one that's in the middle in front of him. And he misses. My goodness, hit. That would have been absolutely killer hit. Right, okay. So it's round number 2. We get initiative again. Right. Archie. He just hits armor class 2. That is a 12, his VACO is 14, and he does 6 damage on this one. It's at 8. Barton is going to take a swing at it. I allow some small movement, like 10 feet, close distance, and swing. Right, his melee VACO is 13, so yes, he hits, and he just does 1d6 plus 2, plus 1 for the bless, is 3, so he does 4 damage. That one's down to 4. Right, it's there go. Right, another point taken off Kane. He's down to 42. 2 more misses. And another hit for 5. He's down to 37. Right, it's his go. Remember, he always loses initiative. Good, and he hits. His melee VACO was 12. He just needs a 10 to hit, and he does 8 plus 5 with a bless, 13 plus 3 for striking is 16, and that is enough to kill that one. And if it wasn't for the striking, that one would still be alive for another round of combat. So we're on to round number 3. We get initiative again. Good, Archie. Hits, kills this one. This one's here, by the way. It's attacking. Barton. Misses. The skank. Right, another point off Kane. Kane is down to 36. And it is his turn. Let's work this out. That's an 8. He hits armor class 4. He misses. Round number 4. And it's mutual. I shall do the skank first. Gets 2 attacks and it misses. It needs a 13 to hit. I shall do archery first. Archie the archer misses. Barton misses. Kane hits, and I'm not even going to add that up. No, I will add that up. That's 18 damage with 1 hit, and he kills that skank. Right. So the crew are flush with success, and they make their way up these stairs here, and that means they enter into this chamber. They go up these stairs, and they are indeed inspired by the sights of this cave, and indeed they are also fooled by the shadowy image that moves and shimmers on the wall. Archie is the one that recognises it's a drawing, but Kane and Barton are saying, "You're not fooling me, I know a ghost when I see one." And Barton and Kane, with their rather low intelligences, say to Archie, "Okay, you can tell us that if you want to, but I still don't trust this," and they hug the edge as they make their way up these stairs here. And that takes them to here, where they continue on up. And here they catch a glimpse of something small running behind this rock. As they approach the junction, Archie gets a fleeting glimpse of something darting out of sight behind a boulder. It looks like a leg. The crew don't feel like getting stabbed or bitten in the rear, so, nodding to each other to keep quiet, they creep around the corner. Archie stands behind the other two holding up his lantern. Behind the boulder is a deep crack in the rock. They can't see anything at the edge of the lamplight, but Kane does catch a scuffling sound that ends abruptly. The purposeful, abrupt ending that means somebody wants to keep quiet. Barton takes the lamp from Archie and holds it towards the mouth of the small cave. "Hello?" he coos. "Is anyone in there?" The red-headed brothers may not have been blessed with brains, but they are good people. Barton especially loves camaraderie when there's drink involved. There is no reply, and nothing in the cave moves. He bends down slightly and holds the lamp forward. A foot is caught at the edge of the lamplight, and it yanks itself into the dark. It is a small, bare foot, slightly hairy too. "Ah, a halfling," says the cleric, "or a creature of evil, perhaps." "I have known some evil halflings," says his huge brother. "Come any closer and I'll blast you," says another voice from the darkness, a young man's voice. "Well, we can't go anywhere until we know who you are," says the cleric. "Tell us who you are first," says a slightly high-pitched female voice. "Show us your wrists." "What good would that do?" asks Barton. "It's probably the tattoo," says Archie. "You know, the 3-tentacle thingy the pirates had." Barton shrugs. He hands the lamp to the cabin boy and pulls up his sleeves. Archie holds the light over the cleric's wrists as they're held forward. "No tattoos, no sea creatures," he says. "What are you doing here?" asks the male voice. "For the love of Mystara," exclaims Kane, "just come out and talk. I've got a sword big enough to stab you from here. I'm not going to use it." With a bit of scuffling and scrabbling, two faces appear close to the cave mouth. One belongs to a halfling lass, and the other is a young man in a tattered robe. Their expressions suddenly look hopeful. Kane lowers his sword and introductions are cautiously made. The halfling is called Mulberry. She goes by the name of Mossy. The mage is called Easton. He is clearly in pain. If he ever was dexterous before, those days have gone. His back has been put out. They have been hiding here for many days, creeping out to find anything to eat, usually scraps left behind by the bat beasts. "We just killed 2 of those," says Archie. That seems to assure the strangers rescue might indeed be likely. "We're looking for a party of our friends," the cabin boy continues. "We know they came to these caves, and there only seems to be one way to go." Mossy and Easton look at each other. "We saw them right here," says the mage, "several days ago." He looks grim. "They were captured and taken prisoner." They discuss who took them and where they might have been taken to. "They won't get out," says Easton, describing the fate of the slaves in the cavern above. "How did you escape then?" asks Kane. "There is a secret way up," exclaims Mossy. The halfling delights herself in describing a small, secret crack that leads up and comes out in the beast's lair. She points into the cave behind her, and so Mossy and Easton team up with the crew to show them this hidden path upward. The halfling looks dubiously at Kane. "You might find it a bit of a squeeze," she warns him. And so we have got temporarily 2 new members to the crew, Mossy the halfling and Easton a mage. Mossy is level 4. She has completely average stats with +1 to her dexterity. I did do a weapon skill training for her and she has a sling. And with the skill in sling she gets a +2 THACO bonus and does damage of 1d6 as opposed to 1d4. She has made herself a sling from some cloth, and of course there are plenty of small sling stones to be had in the gravel of the mines. Easton is level 5 and his stats are again average. He gets a +1 to his intelligence and his constitution. However, his dexterity is 4, which is pretty appalling, so that's why his back has been put out to account for his low dexterity, so he will be in pain. He will have some spells suitable for level 5, some will have been used up, and of course he doesn't have his spell book, so I might roll for these spells randomly and see which ones he has got, and we'll take it from there. We'll see how the crew find their way up into the main lava chamber, and also we'll see what the party are doing to try and make the best of their situation and already plan their escape. And all that will happen next time. So I will see you then.